It's not just here that the latest version of the iPhone is launching today. Eager buyers snapped up iPhones in Hong Kong and waited in long lines in London and Japan to be the first among their friends to get the latest version. The new iPhone is being made available in more than a dozen new countries where it wasn't available before and is much cheaper than the original version. Well, our gadget guru, Nick Bontis, joins us live now from McMaster's DeGroote School of Business. Got yours, Nick?
No, actually, I still have mine from last year.
Oh, you're staying with the old model?
Well, I don't think there's such an incremental difference. And don't forget, Connie, at the end of the day, I'm a Canadian, so I'm a BlackBerry fan.
You are. Now, listen, while we saw long lines in Toronto and around the world, surprisingly, our cameras didn't really find much in the way of lineups locally today. What does this say about the frenzy over the iPhone here?
Well, the frenzy was real, as you said, in most urban centers in Canada. Halifax, I think, sold out. Ottawa and Toronto had especially long lineups. Here in Hamilton, we didn't see it as much, so I suspect they're going to be moving a lot of inventory from one urban center to another over the next coming days to make sure the people that really want it are going to get it. But, you know, I do believe that a lot of the tech lovers who bought one last year are probably holding off on buying one, even though we did see a lady in line who seems to have every gadget there is. And I'm a little concerned now that the churn rate for technology is just way too fast. And by churn rate, I mean the speed with which we have to replace our gadgets. So normally, you know, we replace our desktop computer every 2 or 3 years, our laptop every 2 or 3 years. But to replace now your cell phone, which is going to cost you $200 every 12 months, I think is getting too much.
Well, let's talk about the cost, Nick. So much ado about Rogers' opening iPhone sale price and whether it really is a long-term sale. But give us a bottom-line breakdown of the real cost the average Canadian consumer would be looking at.
So I did some research because all the countries launched the iPhone simultaneously today, and Rogers here in Canada has the second most expensive pricing in the world. Not good news for Rogers. But, you know, they dropped the price 48 hours before. So did actually Sweden and Norway. They also announced rate drops 48 hours before. It turns out, for anybody who's listening, that Austria has the cheapest iPhone plan in the world. And when you look at the actual overall pricing, yes, it's $30 for the data. Then you have to add voice on top. So let's say it's another $30 just for the minimal amount of voice. Then there's access fees and 911 security fees and tax and tax and tax. All in all, you're paying about $90 to about $100 a month. That's not cheap. The cheapest Apple iPhone plan in the world is in Hong Kong, which is about $63 in total. So the reality is, if we're paying $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. What did we do with that extra $1,200, you know, 10, 15 years ago when we didn't have a cell phone?
Exactly, exactly. Well, the ball is in BlackBerry's court now. Is RIM watching this rollout closely? And what other competition is waiting and watching in the wings?
So our Canadians in Waterloo, Ontario are keeping a close eye on what's going on because they have their own 3G phone, the BlackBerry Bold. And it also has GPS. It also has a camera so we can do video capture. And then in the first week of August, Samsung is going to launch the Instinct, and Samsung's phone is actually going to be on the Bell Mobility Network, and it can actually stream live TV, and you can listen to satellite radio. So these smartphones are getting very, very sophisticated. You can imagine they can replace now your digital camera, your video camera. A lot of us have purchased GPS receivers for our cars. They can replace those. A lot of us have satellite radio receivers. They can replace those. So I suspect that BlackBerry and Samsung will take advantage of what's called second mover advantage. So this is a strategy where you look at what the first mover did and try to figure out, is your pricing right? Is it too high or is it too low? So I expect to see another bit of media frenzy in the next couple of weeks for the BlackBerry, and then again in August for the Samsung.
And we'll talk to you about that then, Nick. Have a great weekend.
You too.